Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday morning in the old cookbook show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this old cookbook, sent in by a viewer, the Sarasota Cookbook, the Northwestern Consolidated Milling Company, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Done a bit of research into this company, sort of a very convoluted beginning point. It seems that there were a whole bunch of milling companies that consolidated into one large milling company, and then there were a whole bunch of brand names that were underneath of this. Some of those brand names are gone. Some of those brand names have been sold to other corporations. The brand gets sold, but the mill, doesn't sell. This is a brand that did sell, so it's no longer part of the Northwestern Consolidated Milling Company. But it still exists today. This brand still exists today, and the flour is still for sale in parts of the United States. Today we're going to cook muffins number 2, barley muffins. And I chose this one because it uses barley flour and rye flour. And I really like barley and rye. If you've been to our brewing channel, you'll see that I use barley in every beer. I mean, that is the base of every beer. And I've used rye in a few of the beers that we've brewed. I really like the spicy note that it brings. And if you've watched our Cocktails After Dark, you've also seen that pretty much any spirit that starts out with a base of rye, I really enjoy. I like that flavor profile. I think the two of these together is going to be great. There's no wheat flour either, but it doesn't make it gluten-free. Unfortunately, if you're gluten intolerant, this still has gluten in it. So, cup of milk, and into that cup of milk I'm going to break 1 egg. In goes the egg. To that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of vegetable oil. Use whatever vegetable oil you like. There we go. Carefully measured a tablespoon. And 2 tablespoons of corn syrup. 1, 2. Now, I'm not going to whisk this up just yet. I want to use the whisk with the dry ingredients. So, into this jug, I'm going to put the rye flour and the barley flour, salt, baking powder, and baking soda. And I'll just give that a bit of a whisk to bring it together. Good enough. And we'll whisk this to bring it together and break up that egg. The instructions on this one are pretty light. It just says mix and bake as you would any other kind of muffin. So, I think this is probably, for this mix of ingredients, the simplest way to do it. Now, there's fat in this. There's that little bit of vegetable oil. And for the really pedantic people who always answer me when I say that there's no fat in something, yes, there's fat in the milk, but that's really not what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of fat. I'm thinking like butter or shortening, lard, that sort of thing. Very little in this one. This is very sparse on the oil. So, pour it in there and mix it up. I think this is a good point to pour in the raisins. Use whatever raisins you like, whatever ones you have on hand in your kitchen. As always, there's a struggle of what to bake it in. When I go back through early catalogs of baking tins, the cups were different sizes. They weren't always in 6 or 12. I've seen them in 6 and 9. I've seen them in 4 and 8. I've seen wacky different sizes. You also get mixed up in, early on with muffins, they were cooked in something called a gem tin or a gem pan. Different shapes, sizes, all of those sorts of things. Initially, I thought maybe I was going to get 12, and then I thought, well, maybe that's... I might get 6, but even then, I don't know. Maybe that's... it's probably 8 or 9. So let's get it in here and see what happens. So when you make muffins at home, do you use paper cups? My mom always used paper cups. She also used... There was a time when there was aluminum cups. They're little cups made out of aluminum foil. I just greased the pan and bake it without. Now, it's probably too much in each one. I've probably overfilled. We'll find out. I'm not really all that worried about it. I think we're going to be fine. There's also So the baking powder that's in here is doing all of the lifting. All of the leavening is coming from that baking powder. The baking soda isn't going to do any leavening because we didn't add any acid. There might be a little bit of interplay between the dry acid that's in the baking powder and the baking soda that we put in. But I think mostly the baking soda is there for browning and tenderness. Okay, so these are overfilled. We've got 6 overfilled cups. Probably would have done 9 slightly smaller cups. Let's get them in the oven and see what happens.
Hey,
Hey, Jules.
Hey, friends. I don't know which side to go on.
Rye and barley flour muffins.
Oh, that should be an interesting flavor.
Yeah.
Let's crack that open. You want the top of the bottom? Should I flip it? You want the top of the bottom?
No, we should get halves the other way, yes. So we each get part top and part bottom.
Ah, I see raisins.
Really good structure inside.
It's kind of visually reminiscent of a bran muffin.
Mm-hmm. Moist.
It's moist?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of the right word. It's not that it's got a tang to it, but it's got a nice sharp bite.
It's
not like bitter or anything. It's just that it's not the sweet bran.
It's that indescribable thing that rye brings to it.
Mm-hmm.
Not sweet at all. Even with 2 tablespoons of corn syrup, there's no sweetness here. This would be great, kind of toasted with a little bit of butter on top. This was before muffins met cupcakes.
The modern muffin.
Yeah, the modern muffin that is just, is it a muffin? Is it cake? Well, what is it? This is really good.
Even up until the 70s, it was still muffins were not sugary sweet. Slice of cheese would go with it too. It's got, because it's savory enough that, you know. Sorry, I just thought like a nice sharp, for me anyway.
So this is number 2 barley muffins. Now I want to try number 1 barley muffins and number 3 barley muffins.
I encourage you to do so.
This is a winner if you like a bran muffin, but just slightly different flavor-wise. Yeah. Give them a try. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.